Hi everybody, Ryan and Jen here. We are in Washington, D.C. That is the Lincoln Memorial. In front of it is the World War II monument. We love spending time here. We're always trying to get time in D.C. to look at everything. You can see the lights. We're in around Christmas. This is in December. It's cold. And there's the Washington Monument coming up. It's just a gigantic opportunity to see it in the cold, crisp Washington air. And so it's a beautiful monument. They're doing some work on it. So Jenny and I are here. We're doing some work with some car clients, some very good clients of ours. We're going to do some work with their managers, 25 managers. And we love coming to DC. In the background, is you can see, is maybe the most controversial house in the world right now. It's called the White House. So when we're in DC, we love to talk about leadership. You know, it was 40 years ago this season that I got a chance to play for the Washington Capitals. And I want to pause and congratulate the Caps for winning their first Stanley Cup last season. That was brilliant. So really, this idea of leadership is so important, isn't it? 38 years ago in my second season, I was asked, it was my honor to be asked to be the captain of the Washington Capitals. And, you know, I had a lot to learn. I was a 22-year-old captain thrown into leadership. Isn't that sort of our life? Don't you feel like all of us as leaders have lots to learn? And I did then, and guess what, leaders? I do now. I've got lots to learn, and I'm 60 years old. So this idea of leadership, let's just sort of end 2018 with a big focus on leadership. Number one, all of us are leaders. You see, John Maxwell suggests that leadership is influence. And we have positivity in our influence, or we have negativity in our influence. So every single person living today is a leader because we have influence on people and situations. So we all have responsibility as a leader. Influence is the key component. So how do we do it? You know, when we think about above the line energy and below the line energy, when we think about positive energy in our culture, positive energy in our relationships, and negativity in our culture and relationships, we have to look at the way that we lead, okay? So one of the key components to leadership is positivity and energy in our relationships. We've looked at the 5 mindsets, the 5 energies around team. And how do we as leaders, every single one of us, increase the positivity, increase the energy in our culture through our leadership? I'm going to give you one idea. This comes from Dr. John Gottman out of Seattle, and he's a relationship expert. You know, he calls it marriage, but he also looks at other relationships. And here's what he says. He says that he watched people from newlyweds right through to 6 years. And he found that some of those marriages dissolved and some of those marriages just prospered. And here's what he found. In the marriages that prospered, 86% of the time, the couple turned towards. Now we're going to discover what that means in a minute, instead of turning away and turning against. So what did they turn towards? How can that sort of help our leadership? Here's what they turned towards. Gottman calls it bids for connection. They turn towards in the bids for connection within the relationship. So in other words, people were saying, okay, we want, to have a conversation about X. Well, do I turn towards that conversation? Do I, continue it? Do I agree with it? Do I have fun with it? Do I turn away from that conversation? Do I just sort of put it off and say that's stupid? Or do I actually turn against the conversation and call the person maybe something that I don't want to say on this video? So in the bid for connection, strengthens when we turn towards the relationship of the people that generates the energy of our culture. You know why I bring it to you as we're looking at the White House right now? Every president that's ever been in that White House has had huge influence on the world. Not just North America, not just the US, but the world. So they have some negative influence, and the gentleman that's there now has that. And they have some positive influence, and the gentleman that is there has that. I'm not being political here. Every single president has negative and positive influence. But here's what I want to say as we're heading into Christmas. This is a great time to work on the bids for a connection. How do we turn towards more when we think of our kids and the time we get to spend with them and grandkids at Christmas? How do we turn towards people as we're having relationships and coffees and just times where we're giving of our energy in our relationships? So have a great 2019. We're going to close off 2018 with this video, and think about leadership, think about influence, think about those little bids for connection that we can strengthen in the relationships that we have. And as we build those, we can actually energize above the line energy generating in our culture.